Gather round, children, gather round. It's story time with Jess, the little writer. In case you didn't know, that's me. The remains. Amanda unpacked the dishes while Darren checked inside all of the drawers, cabinets, and closets. "What are you looking for?" Amanda said. Darren opened his mouth but closed it before any words were formed. He had told Amanda before about the strange things that had been happening since his childhood. She thought it was paranoia due to his father's disappearance. Darren believed that his father was still alive someplace. Everyone else had let go and moved on. Amanda had told her husband to get professional help, but he refused. They would not be able to help. Darren had told no one, but his father had given him a warning. He told an 11-year-old Darren to stay away from dead things if his blood was exposed. Darren had followed this advice his whole life, even skipping out on his aunt's funeral due to a shaving incident. Around the age of 15, he hadn't followed his father's advice. He approached a dead dog in the road. His nose had been bleeding. Instead of getting away from the carcass as quickly as possible, Darren stood over it and nudged it with his foot. The dog's entrails were scattered all over the road, its head open and oozing. A single drop of Darren's blood fell upon the dead animal, and it was dead no longer. Darren escaped from the dog with several teeth marks in his legs. After that experience, Darren took his father's words to heart. He checked in, over, under, behind, beneath, and between everything. Better safe than sorry, he thought. In case a squirrel or other critter was hiding in the house, he wanted to find it before it found him. After 3 weeks of being comfortable and carefree, Darren received news that he wasn't prepared for. His father was dead. There was no body to claim as he had already been cremated. Darren's mother had remarried and moved to Sweden. She wasn't interested in claiming an urn full of bad memories. Darren placed his father's ashes in the center of the dining room table. Amanda didn't like the idea but didn't complain. She would deal with it as long as she could tolerate it. Days, weeks, and months passed by, and Darren grew increasingly irate and paranoid. He heard voices that had no origin and felt invisible things crawling on his skin. On the anniversary date of his father's disappearance, Darren sat at the table with the top off of the urn. A knife rested on the table close to his right hand. Amanda was already asleep and unaware of how far gone Darren was. Darren picked up the knife and sliced the palm of his left hand. He held his bleeding hand over his father's ashes and allowed the blood to flow freely. Nothing happened. Darren sat at the table for an hour before giving up. He bandaged his hand up and went upstairs. A few hours after Darren retired, a dark figure stood in the doorway of the master bedroom. Amanda and Darren slept on, unaware that they were being watched. They were unaware that the urn downstairs was on the floor, in pieces.